Nomi Prins, author of Collusion, How Central Bankers Rigged the World. So, Nomi, you used the word rigged, so I'm going to put you on the spot if I can for just a moment. There are some people out there that many would say are conspiracy theorists, if you will, that look at how the central bank was formed by some of the countries, our central bank at least, by some of the country's wealthiest families that are out there. And some folks argue that those people still have a lot of control over the central bank, and essentially they even control governmental policy in many ways. Are you one of the people that buy into that at all, or think that's at least partially true? Tell us.
Well, I don't really buy into the term conspiracy because to me that means something sort of dark and deep that we can't find public information to sustain. So in my work, both in Collusion and the last book I wrote, All the President's Bankers,
Yep.
I actually look at real publicly available information and have just way too many footnotes in my books. Every time I hand in a book, my publisher's like, cut out the real stuff because your footnotes are just too long. That relate to real information in library archives from the presidency to administrations to Congress to Library of Congress to periodicals of the time to so forth. And so one of the things that I had looked at with respect to what you just mentioned, sort of Wall Street controlling and all of that with respect to the development of the Federal Reserve is the reality. The reality is that the people that met and that ultimately provided the initial documentation that became the Federal Reserve Act of 1933 consisted of a senator, Nelson Aldrich from Rhode Island, who also happened to run the Senate Banking Committee at the time, and five other people, one of whom was the assistant treasurer of the United States at the time, and the other four were bankers. And those bankers happened to be involved in both being wealthy as well as some of the bigger family banks at the time in the nation where they met, which was Jekyll Island. This is documented. I went there and I saw the books as many other people have written books on that. I saw the ledgers of who came there and who left. And I have them in a video. That's a whole other thing. But J.P. Morgan, who was the main banker at the time that they met.
It sounds like you believe that there's some truth to that. You might not use the word conspiracy.
Right.
It just, it's not being covered up. It's just that a lot of people don't know about it just because they're not informed to that level. That's all.
Well, that's right. So yes, so conspiracy would be more of a cover. This is actually what occurred, and as a result, over history, these bankers have had not just a vested interest in how the Fed has behaved and how central banks have behaved, and how governments have related to those central banks, but also a vested interest in forging all the laws and the restrictions or the regulations by which they are supposed to operate to allow them to have more risk, because there is a Federal Reserve that is there to protect them and subsidize them in the event of an emergency or crisis, which we recently saw that very big one 10 years ago.